Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you decided to listen to this, I'd like to thank you for listening. This is the Leon West Sports Podcast where no sport, no topic is off limits. If you haven't done so already, I need you to like the Facebook and SoundCloud pages, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And on today's podcast, we'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys and their quarterback situation. Also, I'll be getting into, I have something to ask the Jets and Carolina Panthers fans. I have a few questions for you guys and I need answers. I need answers right now. Also, I'll be giving you my power rankings, my top 5 in the NFL. I know the last time I did NFC and AFC. This time I'll just be keeping it generalized to just specifically the NFL in general. I'll give you my top 5 there. I'll transition to football, give you a little bit on Lamar Jackson, my Heisman top 3 as it stands right now. I'll go through my top 5 in college football power rankings as well. And I'll end the show with a little bit of MLB. But I have to start today's podcast off with this. If you have a great team, right? Just say you have I can't say a great team. Say you have a team of 10 players, right? We're just going to use basketball. If you're the coach of a basketball team, right? And you have 10 players on that team. You got 6 really good ones. The rest are you know what I mean? Like that's typically every NBA roster. Typically most rosters in general. You got 6 good players. The rest are kind of And obviously, if you're playing a full game, you don't want to play your top 6 the entire game. They have to get a rest at some point in time, right? So you bring in the guys off the bench for a short amount of time, and you let the top players I guess get you to the W. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to win, so you let your top players get you to the win, and you get them a break whenever you can if they get up, or if you're up by a lot of points, then you let the rest of the guys in. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys situation, right? So you take their team. The top 5 best players on their team is whoever's playing quarterback, Ezekiel Elliott, Dez Bryant, and then the offensive line. I don't care what order of the offensive line you put them in. The top 5 players on their team are on the offensive side of the ball. So everybody's keep worrying about who's playing quarterback, and in my opinion, who cares? It doesn't matter if Zeke Elliott is leading the league in rushing and you have that O-line intact. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. I mean, what they're doing is they're getting on the field with the offense. Like I said, they have their 5 best players on offense, or 6, 7, whatever. Everybody, your best part of your team is on offense. They're playing a ball control, time of possession type of game, right? So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? So there's 15 minutes in a quarter. Just say Dallas starts off with the football. Most of their drives, they're averaging 3.5 minutes per drive. The opponents are averaging 2 minutes and 45 seconds, right? So they're averaging 33 minutes per game with the ball. So if you take the first quarter, for example, right, and Dallas goes out there and their first drive, they take off 5 minutes, get a field goal, right? So there's 10 minutes on the clock. The other squad comes out, whoever they're playing against, they get a quick 3 and out. They take off 58 seconds off the clock. We'll just go for a minute. So that's 6 minutes off the clock, right? Your offense comes back in, does it again, 5 or 6 minutes, but this time they score a touchdown. Now you're up 10-0, and you've already taken off 11 minutes off the clock. So there's 3 minutes in a quarter. So of that 15 minutes, your defense has had to play, let's say at most, 4 minutes that quarter. And when you're not that great, when your offense is controlling the ball and controlling the time of the game, coming out fresh is huge. You're not very deep on defense. I'm not saying their defense is horrible. Their defense is solid, but they're not great on defense. So the offense is keeping them off of the field, and their defense is able to come into the game fresh, which allows them to get more 3 and outs, which allows them to get the ball back to the offense for them to chew up more clock. But like I said, as far as the quarterback situation, who cares? If you got that O-line and Zeke, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, if you look at 2014 when they went 12-4, you had DeMarco Murray lead the league in rushing with 1,800 yards, 1,845 yards, led the league in touchdowns. He was first in attempts and second place in attempts. He had 392 attempts in 2014 when they went 12-4. Second in attempts was 312. DeMarco Murray was averaging 25 attempts per game. He was averaging 115 yards per game, and they were 3rd in the league in time of possession. That is the way the Dallas Cowboys are going to win football games. They're staying true to what they are. They know they have a great offensive line. They know they got Zeke. He's young. He's fresh. He's the only rookie in NFL history to have 4 games of 130-plus yards, and he's 60 games into his career. So you give him the ball. And like I said, you look at 2014 when they went 12-4, they were one catch away from the NFC Championship, which I still think he caught it, but you know, we're not going to dive back into that. Des caught it. But anyway, they were one play away from making it to the NFC Championship. So why not repeat that formula this year? Who cares who's playing quarterback? Right now, Zeke is averaging 23 attempts a game, 117 yards. He's 6th in touchdowns with 5, and they're number 1 in time possession. And with the average defense that's decimated by suspension, you had your best pass rusher, DeMarcus Lawrence. He's been out for a while. He just came back. He's getting his legs underneath him. You still got McClain and you still got Randy Gregory, who are both suspended for 10 games. You get those guys back here in the future, and things could go well for them. But like I said, they're doing a great job of time management, holding the ball, and that is their best defense. Keeping the defense off the field is the Dallas Cowboys' best defense. I think they know it. I think they keep feeding Zeke. I know they will keep feeding Zeke, because what do you do when the weather is ugly outside? You can't throw in every condition. I know they're playing a stadium where they could put the roof up if the weather's bad, but nonetheless, and they're in Texas. But nonetheless, if you're out there playing at Green Bay, what do you do when the weather's bad? You run the ball. Who's the best at running the ball? The Dallas Cowboys at best are best at running the ball in the football league, and it's not even close right now. And honestly, to this point, Ezekiel Elliott is the MVP of the NFL right now. I don't really have any. I mean, who else could you say? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people playing great. A lot of people say Matt Ryan, say Sam Bradford. Right now, I'm going with Zeke. Alfred Morris is a solid back. Alfred Morris could probably be averaging 80 to 90 yards with that offensive line. I'm not going to doubt that. But right now, Zeke is the reason they're keeping the ball. Zeke is averaging 117 games. The last 4, he has 130 plus. I would say the O-line, but obviously you can't give the MVP to the O-line. So right now, I'm saying Ezekiel Elliott. Now you could argue Dak. You could say Dak is more impressive. If you arguing that, like Dak is more valuable than Zeke to the team, I'll give you that. I mean, I can't knock you for that. I'll give you that. We can talk about that at a later time. But right now, I say Zeke is the MVP. But like I said, if you say Dak, I have no problem with you saying Dak whatsoever. He's doing great. He's doing what he's asked. He's not making any unnecessary throws. He's dinking and dunking, so they say, whatever. It's working. Whatever's working is working. Dak is doing what he's asked to do, like I said. And like I said, if you say he's the MVP, especially of their team, then I wouldn't really argue with that. He's doing one thing that we all know is important. The one thing that is the fastest way to win or lose you a game, and that's turn over the football. He's not doing that. He is not turning. That's one way to quickly win or lose a football game, is turning it over, right? Obviously, we got that. Everybody's got that. We're on track with that. So, can anybody who claims to be a New York Jets fan explain to me why Ryan Fitzpatrick is still on the field? I mean, the guy threw 6 interceptions in one game. He threw 6 picks in one game. Right now, in the second half of every game that he's played, first of all, you're 1-5, right? He threw 6 interceptions in one game. He has no touchdowns and 10 interceptions in the second half of games this season. Am I missing something or what? Like, why are the Jets still? I understand Geno may not be the greatest backup, but it's kind of like what was going on in San Francisco. What other choice do you have at this point? Why in the hell would you want to keep putting your fan base through that? Why would you want to keep putting them through Ryan Fitzpatrick going out there week in, week out throwing interceptions? He threw an interception in the red zone last night. We all know this. Like I said, this the quickest way to win and lose games is turn over, especially when you turned over in the red zone. And then you're watching him do it week after week. Y'all are 1-5. I understand he stood out. You're paying him big money now. We're paying him 14.5, which I don't understand. He had one good year damn near his whole career. His whole life in the NFL damn near. He's had one good year. You pay him $14 million. That's better off letting him hold out. But nonetheless, he's here. He's 1-5. 10 interceptions, second half, no touchdowns. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it. In 2013, Jets fans couldn't wait to call for Geno Smith head. They wanted Geno gone. That year, he had 12 touchdowns and 21 picks. They couldn't wait for him to go. But at least that year, you went 8-8. You went 8-8 that year. I don't understand what's going on right now. Why is Ryan Fitzpatrick still in the game? Somebody needs to explain that to me. Somebody needs to explain that to me. And y'all, I'm not letting another team off the hook either. The Panthers. I'm not letting y'all off the hook. I remember earlier in this season. It wasn't even a season. It was before the preseason. And I had numerous Carolina Panther fans on my timeline excited because They were posting videos of quote-unquote Josh Norman getting burnt in practice in a one-on-one drill by Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon. And I seen a couple of Carolina fans, oh, look, I told you he ain't this. I told you he wasn't that. He ain't good. He ain't this. He ain't that. Talking about Josh Norman, that is. Well, what the hell you got now? What the hell you got now? The defense which was your calling card the past few years. Now you're seemingly getting torched week after week. You gave about 41 last week. 41. 40-something to Atlanta. Oh, and speaking of Josh Norman, you got a rookie corner over there that you said, hey, man, I understand you're a rookie, but we're going to put you on this island with Julio Jones by yourself. Good luck. Why would you do that to a rookie? Hell, why would you do that to any corner in the league, let alone a rookie? What? You put a rookie on Julio Jones and said, go up there and defend it by yourself. And what'd he do? Eat you up for 300 yards. That was probably the dumbest thing I've seen. Somebody's got to do some answering for that. Now you're sitting here at 1-5. Cam Newton's out here acting like a baby in interviews again. Good Lord, Cam Newton. We get it, man. Nobody likes to lose, bro. We get it. But you sitting there pouting like a baby every single time. It's starting to get annoying. I defended him after the Super Bowl. I said, you trained your whole life for this. You get to the Super Bowl. Hell no, you don't want to answer questions. I get it. No, I don't want to answer questions. But it's getting old, Cam. It's getting real old. You're being real short. You're walking out on interviews. It's getting old. Nobody wants to keep seeing that, man. You keep pouting like a little baby all over because y'all losing. Do something about it then, Cam. Because when you was dancing, you said, if you don't want me to dance, stop me. People are stopping you. Now what are you doing? You're pouting. That's all I've been seeing from you is pouting. Time in, time out, pouting. And like I said, the Atlanta Falcons absolutely tore y'all up. Julio Jones tore y'all up. And speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, that's where I'm going to start off my power rankings. Like I said, this week I'm going to give you my power rankings, just the top 5 for the NFL. And Atlanta's my number 5. They're coming in my number 5 slot. They're number 1 in yards per game, number 1 in scoring offense. And Matt Ryan is he's having a hell of a year right now. He's not turning the ball over, which is what they've been needing from him. He's not turning it over. He's making much better decisions. Mohamed Sanu was a lot better than I thought he would be when they picked him up. I thought that was just an kind of pick. Right now it's showing to be a great pick to complement Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Then you look at their backfield with Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. Those two are playing lights out. Combined, that's a hard backfield to stop. And like I said, with Julio Jones, he's unguardable by any regular human being, especially when you play him like Carolina played him with a rookie, and you're going to tell the rookie, hey, man, you're by yourself. You know, and now, and like I said, their offense is just something to be seen. So if they can get home field, because Matt Ryan, he doesn't have the strongest arm. And when he plays outdoors, like later in the season, I think that's why his playoff record is so bad. He just doesn't have the arm strength. So if they can manage to get home field, look out. I think NFC title game is definitely a possibility if they get home field. So look out for Atlanta. I got them number 5 early on in the year. Number 4 is Dallas. Now everybody keeps like we've been talking about the QB situation. I think they're a legit Super Bowl contender. Like I said, what do they do most when the weather gets nasty? Most teams run the ball. Who's best at that? The Dallas Cowboys. You got to give them credit. And like I said, if you're asking me who should start at quarterback right now, I'm saying Dak. If you're asking me who, I'm saying Dak. As I said earlier in the podcast, I don't think it matters. But if you're asking me to make a decision, if I'm the coach, you got to go with Dak, especially right now. But as long as that running attack can stay number 1 in the league and Zeke can continue to average damn near 120 yards per game, then it really doesn't matter. So Dallas, number 4. Number 3, Minnesota. I've been a big Minnesota, I can't say hater. I've been big on not giving them as much credit, but I think that time has come to an end. Minnesota's defense is absolutely unbelievable this year. They're second in yards allowed, and they're first in points and sacks, points allowed in sacks. Now that's a big thing, like I said, sacks in the division with Aaron Rodgers, even though he doesn't look like himself at all. But in the division with Aaron Rodgers, the best way to get to Aaron Rodgers or any pass rusher or any passer, period, is to rush him. We've seen that plenty of times where we've seen that the 2 times Tom Brady won against the Giants in the Super Bowl. That was the key to them winning. They was able to rush him, get at his feet, make him move in the pocket, and sometimes he wasn't ready for that. So that alone right there, and like I said, their defense is good. Second in yards allowed, first in points allowed. I got to go with Minnesota number 4. Sam Bradford is everything they could have hoped for and more. When you talk about a perfect game manager, what they had last year is Teddy Bridgewater. Now you got it with Sam Bradford, and who seems to be a more accurate passer, who can throw the deep ball a little bit better than than Teddy B. He's completing 70% of his passes this year. Sam Bradford is 6 touchdowns, no interceptions in his 4 starts. I was doubting Sam Bradford. I'm currently not doing that. We'll see how the year plays out. But right now, Minnesota at number 3. Number 2, I got the Seattle Seahawks. Number 1 in yards allowed, number 3 in points allowed. We obviously know they have a great defense. They've had a great defense the past few years, and I don't think there's any denying how great that defense is. So I have to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, in past years with that defense, they had a great running game to complement it. You know, a great running game. Now it's the passing game. Now they're if they can figure out how to get that running game back on track, they're poised to make another deep playoff run, i.e. back into the Super Bowl if they can figure out this running game. But by the time the playoffs come around, because right now they're 11th in passing, which is rare for Seattle. Like they're averaging 88 yards on the ground so far, but they're 11th in passing, and in years prior they were 20th and 27th. So Russell Wilson has figured out the passing offense, maybe by necessity, but he's figured out how to get Jimmy Graham involved. They figured out how to get Doug Baldwin involved. Now, if they can figure out how to run a ball, Seattle right now looks damn near unbeatable, especially if they get home field advantage. Topping it off, I think everybody knows who's number 1 right now. I don't really think this should be an argument. It's the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is back. I've said that before. I pointed out Tom Brady is back. A lot of people was, that they were playing so well, they didn't even need Tom Brady. Oh, well, just look at it. In 2 games, Tom Brady has 782 yards, 76% of his passes completed, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, average winning margin, 16 points. That so much for not needing Tom Brady. I think a lot of people just kind of forgot who he was. And honestly, I think I should be one of the guys who hate on Tom Brady. Tom Brady is from the rival of my Ohio State Buckeyes. I should hate him with all my heart. For some reason, I can't. I guess I like the greatness of him, so for some reason I can't. But a lot of people said they didn't need him, and then, like I said, 2 games, 782 yards, 76%, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. So much for not needing Tom Brady. You guys sounded foolish then. You look foolish now. You know, Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. Yes, they got a great system. Yes, they have great coaches. But as I said, Tom Brady still Tom Brady. Respect that man. Put some respect on his name, as they say. Put some respect on his name. Like I said, he's from that team up north, my rival team. I should hate him, but I don't. And speaking, just whatever, just going to college football, I don't really have nothing specific I want to harp on, but I have to give you a little bit of my college football insight. But one thing I did notice is Lamar Jackson. He's coming back down to earth. He had 25 touchdowns his first 4 games. And now the last 2, he's completing 57% of his passes, which isn't too bad because he's only completing 58% for the year. But he has just 5 touchdowns in these last 2 compared to 25 in the first. Now, I'm not knocking Lamar Jackson. He's still Lamar Jackson. He's still great. I think he's averaging 130 yards on the ground. He's like 6th in the nation in rushing as far as yards per game. So I'm not knocking him at all. This is not a knock on him. This is just to say he's coming down to earth. People might be figuring him out. He's still talented. You're not going to ever stop him per se. You just kind of hope to contain him a little bit. I think teams may be figuring it out, but we'll let the rest of the season play out. But like I said, this is not a knock on him. And he's got those 25 touchdowns in the first 4 games, which expanded his lead so much further in the Heisman race. So right now I got Lamar Jackson number 1. Like I said, he has 30 touchdowns. It's just hard to compete with that in 5 games. Or 6 games. You have 5 touchdowns a game. JT Barrett, on the other hand, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 23 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions for Ohio State. He is my number 2 pick. I like what I've seen from him in Wisconsin. Came in the second half and bounced back. Did some great things through that back shoulder fade to Noah Brown for those guys to win that game in Wisconsin, which was a hell of a game. I had to shout my Buckeyes out. But anyway, JT Barrett is my number 2. And then my number 3 is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is having a heck of a year as well. His numbers are relatively similar to what they were last year at this point. I just don't like the fact that they're struggling so much with so many bad teams. Again, they were a good kicker away from losing to North Carolina State at home last week. So I got Deshaun Watson coming in at number 3. And shifting to the power rankings for college football, again, I'm going to do my top 5, and I'll start from the bottom 5, and I got the Washington Huskies. I think Browning has turned Washington into a legit threat out west in the Pac-12. They look really good right now. They put up a 70 ball on Oregon. And speaking of that, everybody was, oh my God, Chip Kelly's not that great of a coach. He didn't really pan out in the NFL. First of all, Chip Kelly was 26-21 with the Eagles, which most coaches would not have lost their job. I think more people was upset that he got rid of some star players because they didn't want to go. Anyway, Chip Kelly was 26-21. Now look at Oregon. Chip Kelly was a hell of a coach. They don't know how to recruit. Well, Chip Kelly was never getting recruits. But anyway, Washington beat them guys, put up 70, and it was 70-21. Usually in a Oregon game where somebody's scoring 70, you typically think it's them. It wasn't. Their schedule, Washington's schedule, looked very manageable throughout the rest of the season. I think Washington has a good chance of making the playoffs if they can stay undefeated. Number 4 is that team up north, the Blue Guys. In that state, I'm going to just call them Detroit because I don't want to say their name. They're top 5 in every defensive category. Can't knock them. I'm still waiting to see them play a true road game worth talking about, but you can't deny their numbers. Only team they played on the road is Rutgers, and they beat them 78-0. We beat them 59-0, so I mean, they really haven't had a road test thus far. But like I said, they look great. Can't knock them. I hope they stay undefeated until it's time for the big game so that we can rip their heart out like we've been doing the past few years. I love every bit of it. I just want that to happen. So stay undefeated, Blue Guys, and we'll be ready for you come November 25th. Or November 26th, I'm sorry. Number 3, I got the Clemson Tigers. They still have Deshaun Watson, but they have a turnover problem. They got 9 turnovers in the last 2 games, and that won't bode well when you're going against Alabama or Ohio State. You cannot give those great teams extra possessions. Heck, it will not go well next week if they're dealing with Florida State after their bye. If they turn it over 4 or 5 times against Florida State, they'll probably lose that game as well. So Clemson, they're still number 3. They're still hanging tough. They got so much talent. I just don't understand what's going on. Kind of reminds me of Ohio State from last year when everybody came back and everybody was expecting you to do the same or better than what you did last year since it was a year early. And I think it got to Clemson's head and not focusing as much. I don't really know what's going on, but like I said, it's very close to what I saw last year from Ohio State. And coming in at number 2 is Ohio State. The passing game is still slacking. Receivers are just not getting open, and that's what I'm noticing right now. But the power run game is still there. The run game is still there. They're 9th in rushing yards per game in the nation. 9th in yards per game, 5th in total yards allowed on defense. So they're doing what they need to do. They're finishing off these guys. They need to finish off. Tough road ahead for Ohio State. I think they can come out unbeaten. If they do, I'm anxious to see that November 26th matchup with the Blue Guys. And coming in at number 1, it's Alabama. I don't really think there's no question about it. I had a few Ohio State fans on my timeline earlier this week. They kind of upset me. They said Alabama can't be beaten, which Alabama does look good, and right now they do like the best team, no questions asked. But the same thing was said in 2014 when we beat them in the Sugar Bowl. We had no chance, blah, blah, blah. And the part that irritated me is these guys that were saying it was Ohio State fans. I get it. Alabama's the best. I just said that. I'll give it to them as of right now. Alabama looks like the best team in the league. They have had a tough schedule have had a tough schedule thus far, and they're making it look pretty easy. They got 11 non-offensive touchdowns, which is absolutely absurd when you consider they have 11 right now. The best in the ACC last year was Bama, and they had 8. 11 non-offensive touchdowns. They're outscoring some teams. I think I read something that said Alabama has more non-offensive touchdowns than South Carolina. South Carolina's offense has touchdowns, which is absolutely absurd to think about. Alabama's number 1, and I think it's shaping up to be a nice ending to the season. I would love to play Alabama. I can't wait to play the Blue Guys. This is Ohio State fan talking. Had to get my little bias moment in. But now we'll shift over into the MLB postseason. Now, I get it. The Cubs have had a great season. Everybody's talking about the Cubs, and rightfully so. But nobody's paying attention. Or you might be if you're following me. But nobody's really paying attention to what's going on in Cleveland. Everybody's talking about the Cubs, but meanwhile in Cleveland, Cleveland's pitching staff right now has a 1.6 ERA. That's tops in the postseason. Now you look at what they've done. They had the Red Sox. They had the Red Sox who were first in runs scored in the MLB in the regular season. Then they played Toronto, which is 9th. Right now it's 3-0. 3-0 against they beat the Red Sox 3-0. They're up 3-0 against Toronto right now. This is not to say Toronto couldn't come back. Knowing Cleveland, something crazy like that could happen, but we'll hope it doesn't, and we'll let it play out. But anyway, they had the Red Sox in 3 games. The Red Sox, like I said, were number 1 in baseball. In baseball in runs scored. And the Red Sox scored 7 in 3 games. Toronto was 9th in runs scored. They scored 3 in 3 games. Now, the Cubs continue to look like they're headed for a magical run with that comeback in from San Francisco. Everybody's high on the Cubs, honestly, and you should be. Like I said, they look like they're on a magical run, but so does Cleveland. And so does Cleveland. Cleveland is doing some things that we haven't seen from Cleveland in quite some time. aka winning in the playoffs. And so here's the debate. I'll end the show with this. I want to open this up for debate. Hopefully I can get a few people to comment on it or a few people to dive in on it. But I want to open this up right here for debate. So what would be the better story for sports and for the sports world or baseball? It doesn't really matter which one you want to look at it. What would be the better story, right? So we know Cleveland has had this horrible championship drought. 66 years, I want to say, with 3 sports teams, no major championships. So what's the better story? Cleveland ending their title drought with 2 titles in major sports in 1 year, because obviously we know the Cavaliers have already done that. So would it be a better story for Cleveland to end it with 2 championships in 1 year, or would it be the Cubs ending their 107-year drought? So what are you thinking? What are you thinking? You think the city of Cleveland ending the drought with 2 championships is better, or do you think the Cubs ending it with 107? Or obviously if Cleveland wins it, then the Cubs don't. So if Cleveland's winning it, do you think the Cubs losing is better for sports? Just so we can have that, man, the Cubs can't do anything, or should both curses be broken this year? What would be better for sports? One of the curses being broken twice, and that's Cleveland, or both curses being broken for the season? Like, what do you think would be better for sports? What do you think would be better for the ratings? And I'll end the show with that. Like I said, this has been Leon West. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm glad you listened. If you listened, subscribe to the Facebook and SoundCloud pages. I'll upload some videos on YouTube. And, for me, I'm signing off. I will say this, though. First Take is going to be doing a Your Take segment. I'll be trying to get on that show almost every day. I'll be posting a video like every day. So I'll be uploading that. I'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully I get selected and I can get on First Take. I'll need your help sharing videos and putting my name out there so they can see that people are watching, and maybe I can get selected. But more on that to come. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But like I said, thank you for listening. This is Leon West. I'm signing off. You have a good one.